When we organise school trips to take girls of this age to some of the camps, what would you like them to come away with?
Oh dear. Very difficult. It's a very, very difficult question to answer. About 6 years ago, I went to Auschwitz. I was in Krakow at a conference, and I stayed an extra day at the end of the conference to make the trip to Auschwitz. I don't know what I was looking for. It was a harrowing experience because quite a lot of my family died there. I suppose what I would like the girls to do is to try and remember, try and understand what the camps were for. What what people are sometimes inclined to do, especially when they are taken to places where they haven't asked to be taken, is that they view it as an outing. When I was in Auschwitz, I saw people prancing around the barbed wire barricades and photographing each other next to it on their mobile phones or whatever. And I don't think that they understood what it was that they were seeing. But if you go to Auschwitz, there are all over the place photographs taken by the Nazis themselves showing what these places were. I mean, they're not talking about mass executions, etc., because they were not advertised, just people queuing. You know, a photograph of the selection process where people are pushed out of the cattle trucks and go past Dr. Mengele or one of his assistants, and he points either one way or points the other way. If he pointed to the left, you went into the camp. If he pointed to his right, you started to queue for the gas chambers. And all you see is the people there queuing up and somebody standing there. That's what I'm asking, what I would like them to do is to appreciate what it is they are seeing. And try to imagine that the figures they are seeing are their cousins, their uncles, aunts. We went back to Papua in late spring of 1945, attempting to pick up life as the best of our ability. My mother tried to restart the business, but of course she didn't make much of a success of it because she didn't have the knowledge and the experience. My brother became active in the Zionist movement in the late 40s. He escaped through Czechoslovakia and ended up in Israel. My mother felt that there is no future for us in Hungary. So in 1950 she tried to do the same. And she and I, by some illegal means, got into Czechoslovakia, traveled within Czechoslovakia to the city of Bratislava, which is very close to the Austrian border. And in Bratislava we got caught by the police, and my mother was put into prison in Czechoslovakia for 6 months for illegal entry. When she served her sentence in Czechoslovakia, she was sent back to Hungary, where she was put into prison for 18 months for leaving the country illegally. I spent my 13th birthday in prison. I was in there for a few weeks, nothing serious. And I went off to live with my uncle and aunt in Papua. My uncle and aunt tried very hard to make as much of a home for me as possible. They had no children of their own, but they were very kind to me and looked after me extremely well, spoiled me. You miss your parents. I went to school in another town to learn to be a lab technician, and when I finished that course I started university, and about 6 weeks after starting university the revolution in 1956 broke out and I escaped and ended up in the UK. My mother by that time was on her own, and there was a degree of liberalization after the communist system was re-established after the revolution. So she was actually allowed to leave the country in the spring of 1957 on a train with her baggage and ended up in Israel, which is where she lived for the last 22 years of her life. So I came to Lancaster for a job, got a lectureship, and I've been here ever since. And it's a nice town, it's a good town to bring up a family. I was comfortable at the university, I enjoyed what I was doing, so I kept doing it until the dreaded moment when I got to 65 and retired. I'm very much aware of the very long association between human beings and baked mud, which is what pottery is. And it gives you a feeling of continuity, of association with people long dead, because you're doing the same as they have done. And I'm sure other people will keep doing it for thousands of years to come. My younger son, more than 2 years ago, he visited Buchenwald on a trip to Germany, and he came up with the idea of a memorial tablet to be placed in Buchenwald concentration camp. And we have a picture of my father's direct descendants, as many as could make it on the day, gathered around the tablet, which represents both the partial success and the eventual failure of the Holocaust, of the Nazi plans, of the final solution, because they managed to kill a lot of people, which is what the tablet commemorates, but not everybody, which is what the gathering the people around it commemorates. So ultimately, it was a failure, I'm glad to say.